So, to give you a basic rundown from the beginning to where we're at now, if I go back 4, 5 years, there were large spans of time in my life where I really had no direction, and then also drinking a lot. It's funny I mention that because for the longest time I tried, as a young adult, a teenager, for a long time I had convinced myself there's no way on earth I would ever become an alcoholic. I don't want to go down that path. I don't want to let myself become that. And, lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. From a very young age, I was very young, and it was on and off, like a phase. You're young, it happens, people do those things. And by the time I was legally capable of purchasing alcohol, that's where it kind of went downhill. You move away from home, you don't have people continuously staying on top of you saying like, hey, you probably shouldn't be drinking every single day. I can only speak for myself when I say these things, because to be completely honest, I don't know how bad it can be. I only know how bad it was for myself. So when it comes to that specifically, I know there are people who struggle with all sorts of personal demons, and believe me, I did too. At the age of 21, I can now legally purchase alcohol, and I decided, I tried to keep it at a minimum. It was like I'm exhuming my right. I'm 21 years old, like I'm allowed to. And again, not living at home, it became a pretty regular thing. Obviously, not good. By the age of 22, with relationships in and out, to anybody in my past, friends, closer than friends, loved ones, people of that nature, anything that has ever come through that, there are no hard feelings. For me specifically, it's not something, I don't personally hold on to grudges. So I have learned from every mistake that I have made in my past, and I use those as examples to try to better myself and the people around me. So through some rough relationships, alcohol was slowly becoming more of a prevalent thing in my life, at which it was a point I can't completely recall exactly when that started specifically, but I was consuming alcohol at least every night. It got to the point by the age of 23 and 24 that it was quite literally my way of being able to fall asleep. Mind you, not always completely belligerent blackout, but I don't know, 6 beers or more. Liquor, it depends on specifically what it was, the night, what I was feeling. But that was like my sleep medicine. So that was like my escape to kind of just shut off my brain and go about my evenings. It got way worse. There was never any abuse. There was never like malcontent or any wrongdoing. I wasn't like beating people or overly aggressive by any means. I've always been pretty passive with most things. And by the age of 24, that's when it was like bad. I had gained a lot of weight, and I feel honestly as though I just kind of said, whatever, like, you grow up, you grow out. At the time, I was accepting some responsibilities at the time that I was, I was not focusing on myself at all. And that to me was perfectly okay. It was like, this life is not all about me. I felt like I was putting a lot of my effort in other areas. Needless to say, I am human, and humans make mistakes. So the consumption of alcohol lacking in some areas that I may have been able to do better at that time specifically. The relationship at the time fell apart, and I took it really hard. It's funny to think now, looking in retrospect, actually putting my words, my thoughts into word. Yeah, heartbreak can do a lot to somebody, and not even in a bad way. Just it can really change your perspective on things, especially with the way things were going for myself. Some opportunities arose, and it was stay or go. There were no other options. I was on a whim. I was like, well, I need to go do this. I'm not super comfortable with it. There may be better things to do with my life. That's what I chose. So I uprooted myself from where I was living at the time. I moved 2 hours away with the few things that I owned, some gracious hearts and friendly people, and I started my new opportunity. I kind of, through my grievance, not being able to understand, it kind of all dawned on me at the same time, because now my drinking was to cover up problems as well as sleep. Any excuse I could come up with to have another drink or do something that would just shut this off and let me forget about, my poor achy breaky heart. I can't remember the day specifically. I recall looking at myself in the mirror, and the image has been everywhere. At this point, anybody who knows me, who has to deal with my posts on Facebook, knows, like, you've seen it. I looked in that mirror and I was like, oh my goodness. Wow. So that's what I've let myself become. I gave up on me. I gave up on taking care of myself. I gave up on all the things that could make me a better person were out the window. And so now I'm sitting here staring myself in the eyes in this mirror, and I'm like, wow, you look really bad, bud. And so I took a photo, front, center, and side. I just kind of thought about that for a while. I didn't really do much about it, and I was just, I don't know, somewhere in my mind. I didn't have people just like, yeah, you should probably go to the gym, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of the time I'll keep my issues to myself. I don't know if it's the stigma of being a man or that's just how I've always dealt with things. It's kind of like a personal thing, a personal journey, something you have to deal with and overcome on your own. Out of nowhere, I just remember weighing myself, and I was like, wow, 7 years down the road, I'm sitting pretty at like 230 pounds. And that's where that journey started. I started going to, specifically here, an undisclosed location that some may recognize. I started coming to this specific place every single day, sometimes twice a day. It was the only thing that I did. Maybe it was in the morning, sometimes it was the end of the day, and playing loud music and just beating, pardon me, the hell out of myself every single day helped me clear my mind. I wasn't worried about the mistakes that I may have made in a relationship that had failed. I wasn't thinking about the next time I'm gonna, get drunk so that I can sleep or stop thinking about things. The struggle was very difficult. At first, it was every single day. It was like there was that little voice in the back of your head. It's like, you should probably go get a drink. And this went on and on and on. To be completely honest, it hasn't been that long, and it's still a struggle that I deal with now. But fighting that, relationships, your relationship with substance abuse, your relationship with friends and family, those things. Everybody has a kryptonite, something that just breaks them down. And the only thing that was getting me away from all of these negative aspects in my life personally was just working out. Once a day, twice a day, 7 days a week. This went on for close to 4 weeks. I just didn't stop down. I wasn't eating nearly as much as I was, especially when I would drink a lot. But fighting that urge to not drink was way harder than I had ever anticipated that it would be, which was a clear sign that I absolutely did have a problem. Because if I can't go one day without saying, man, I would really like to drink alcohol, just a buzz, just enough to like nip the bud, that was like, hey, by the way, London, buddy, you have a problem. Fighting the urge to drink, working out every single day. There were at least, not a dozen, but a few times that I had fallen short. I'd given into the craving, and I'd get right back on it and force myself not to for an extended period of time. And this went on and on and on. And then I started coming up with better ideas, better plans. And this was all off the radar. I wasn't telling anyone. Nobody knew. I wasn't staying super up to speed with my family, which maybe I should have. And then 2 months, not even 2 months. It was like a month at that time working out. I was like, hey, by the way, did anybody work out today? My friends and family were like, there's nothing wrong with that. You should be proud. And that kind of led me to where I'm at now. I mean, this started with me just holding myself accountable and getting a few friends involved to make sure that I was continuing to do the same thing. I've worked for it. I know what it's like to deal with substance abuse and continuously fight that urge after you are now trying to completely leave it out of your life. Believe me, I know. Some of you may not have that issue, and thank the Lord that you do not. I commend you for never having an issue like that. That is fantastic. I am glad your health and your life has been in check for as long as it has been. Obviously, I would like to maintain my health and at least try to live a healthy life. And that goal is just being healthier, being happier. That was the only goal. Here we are. But everyone starts somewhere. I go and force myself to change my life, and it changed my life so drastically that I personally believe it is the cure for so many things, as long as you stay consistent. That is the most important part. That is absolutely the most important part. Thank you all. Have a fantastic day, evening, what have you. I love you. God bless.